Good.
Hi, my name is Natasha Deakins. I was hired in 2014 as an integrated curriculum pathway coach as part of the Northern California Career Pathways Trust Grant in conjunction with the Sonoma County Office of Education. One of the primary goals of the NCCPA is to integrate career technical education and core academics. One of the schools that has most openly embraced this philosophy is Windsor High School, in particular their Access STEM core.
So we had a really interesting experience at Keysight, being the English teacher walking into an engineering company. I wasn't sure how I was going to integrate a project. What we experienced as an engineering-focused team of a history, English, and engineering class was an opportunity to restructure the way that we taught our students how to do projects. What we took from our internship and applied directly to our classroom was the formatting of the design process, and we actually had the opportunity through this externship to meet with the lead of research and design. Our coordinator for the project, the week-long externship, was a project manager who works with all departments and basically leads projects, and so we took his structure of how he project manages and took that on as teachers and then passed that on to our students. We also worked with engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers. We had this really great experience of looking at and working with all sorts of people within the company, and then took that design process and applied it to a project that we actually opened our year with. So we had returning seniors. We teach kids in 2-year cycles, so we get juniors and seniors. The seniors graduate and our juniors become our core leaders to introduce the new juniors. So we created a project that integrated history, English, and engineering. And Sean will explain the details of that. But what we were able to do is take this design process that we learned through Keysight and actually have our students use it in a collaborative project that worked as an authentic icebreaker and team building project. And that project was a historical based concept in the form of a pinball machine.
After completing their summer externship, the Access STEM teachers participated in a wide variety of professional development opportunities, ranging from exploring the SCO Design Lab to attending a 3-day integrated project planning workshop. The Design Lab exploration introduced teachers to some of the latest tools and technology available for taking integrated projects to the next level.
So the Sonic field trip connected to this technology research paper that my students are doing because they were able to see how data is stored. They had a physical example of what technology and data looked like in a real world life job. And so they were able to come back, even though it was a small group of just 12 students, they were able to come back and inform their research on what security and privacy and technology, how those all go together. And I can see it filtering through not only their essays, but their conversations with other kids. So it was this great real world example that then applied to their argumentative writing in my English class.
So when I look back on the growth of this particular team, it's pretty clear that there's 3 primary things that I think had the biggest impact. One of them is certainly the summer externship, and then our C3 project planning, which we tie directly to industry partners, and then design thinking. Those 3 are certainly reflected in the end of the year project that Access STEM completed. And
one of the big components I'd say that was most successful is we did project tuning. And so the project tuning, we'd actually done with this project and got great feedback on how to kind of narrow it down the scope of what we were trying to accomplish. So community, making community sustainable is enormous. It's like world peace. But it allowed us to take that idea and give it some focus and hear other people what their concerns and our ideas around it were. So then we took that and gave it to students, so they took their ideas of how to take public spaces and refine those public spaces and make them a fundamental part of the community.
Another powerful experience for Windsor was participating in design thinking, which is really a process to help develop solutions and a very nice way to have students work on real life issues or problems that they see within their community.
Design thinking.
Okay. So the problem that the Windsor students wrestled with was how to make their campus welcoming to incoming ninth graders, or basically anyone who sets foot on their campus. So as a result, kids broke out into teams and then did some empathy interviews around what makes people feel welcome in a new environment and how might they create that. So the first part is establishing kind of the essential question. What's the problem that you're trying to solve? And then through some empathy interviews, going out and actually getting some data from individuals, then it's about redefining that question. So they might think that they're initially solving for one thing, but after their research, they might be solving for something completely different.
It's funny because I think you guys have, the design thinking has often been used as a way to approach the final product. We actually had you guys do a little bit differently, where we had you guys simulate the whole thing for a smaller version that we could get done in a day to take them all through the process, and then we use that actually as our fundamental structure for the entire project. So we actually took the entire slideshow and then broke it into pieces and plugged in this 4-week program into that exact same framework. And it was great because they actually knew where they were in the process. They knew the purpose of it because they'd gone through it on a miniature version.
C3 was fantastic because that's really where we learned about fine-tuning protocols and how we would get students to create a project, design something, but then get some outside perspective about how effective it was and whether it really was realistic or not. So students gave each other feedback, and because of that, they were able to refine their prototypes and come up with things that would be much more effective. And it was just astonishing how useful that was for students because they really took it to heart, they took it seriously, and they gave honest and really constructive criticism for each person's prototypes and projects. So that was so useful just to get the students involved in really looking at their own projects from the outside and seeing what others were creating in a really professional, mature way.
One of the best examples was a group actually completely scrapped their idea. Only through presenting it and then hearing feedback did they recognize that they had come up with something completely impossible. And that's what we all need to hear. We need to hear when our ideas are absurd or off track so that we can reset it instead of finding that out at the end of the project. And so that was the project tuning protocol. So we started by asking the kids we started with them with a driving question. So they looked at what makes community sustainable. And the idea behind that was to give them a really complex, open-ended problem that is something that society really deals with, but then have them go through a process to break it down and actually make it an approachable problem, and then have them go in and go out and find evidence that would support a solution. And so we used the C3 process, really kind of drove, that's where we really kind of defined the aspects of this project, because we had students go through and really plug in the design process and plan out a system for refining their ideas, and it was actually worked really well because we used the exact same system to refine the project itself for them, and then we put them through the process for refining their own solutions.
Ultimately, 9 groups of students looked at creating a greater sense of community by altering a public space, which included the Windsor Town Green, Kaiser Park, and Windsor High School. All team members had assigned roles modeled after the summer externship experience at Keysight. Drawing on their design thinking knowledge, students conducted empathy interviews, built prototypes, and received feedback from industry and community members, including the Mayor of Windsor and the Parks and Recreation Director. As a result, several student teams were asked to present their proposed projects at the town council meeting.
So how many people play at once?
With this version, we have 2 people playing at once.
The object just get to
From
the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. I really liked the graph that you had because it showed total number of people you interviewed and then how many people really liked it. I think you did a really good job of recognizing your weaknesses or the areas that were a challenge for you and then how you overcame them. And then I think the adjusting the height and the width is really a good idea too. I don't know if you're interested, but certainly I can put you guys in touch with all the playground manufacturers that we talked to, because maybe they might want to copyright it and make it a real thing. So.
That'd be great, thank you.
Plus, I know some patent lawyers you might want to talk to.
Also good.
Be a good way to raise funds for college, right?
That's right.
It's a very innovative idea. I congratulate you for
Thank you.
the engineering aspects. I'm sure created challenges for you.
Yeah, definitely. But we had a lot of fun doing it, so good.
Surviving this project. So we attempted something that was so out of the scope of how we teach as a team. So 3 teachers, we all teach in our little bubble. We have control over our little universe, and it completely blew open our universe and brought in other decision makers into that. And it was really challenging for us to pull this all together and make decisions and have control and make sure it all got done. And we got frustrated, and we felt like we were failing in the process, and we made dramatic, huge changes midway through because we realized what was working, what was not working. But we did it, and we survived, and we made it happen. We had actually a great product, and last night we had the head consultant in front of for the town of Windsor that is in charge of redeveloping the public space, the town green, come up and basically tell my students that they hit it right on the nose with what is wrong with that space and why it doesn't function, and was so excited because we got to basically inform the city that they do need to make changes, and those are the exact same changes she's trying to develop.